All right, boys and girls, it's Mrs. Estelle again, of course. And we are going to work on this portion of your lesson today. So, you were charged with rounding each number to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. And we want you to use number lines, okay? Because number lines are going to be helpful. So, remember, show your work. Don't make excuses. Show your work. So, we're going to start off with 18 because we need to round this to the nearest 10 and the nearest 100. So we need to figure out, what does 18 fall between? What two hundredths? In this case, we're starting off with 0, right? And we're going to be going to 100. So these are using like our multiples of 100, but we're starting with 0 instead, okay? Now, when we are doing the number line, we talked about it before, you need to count by tens. So first tick, it's going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and of course 100. Make that 50 look a little bit better. We talked about on the number line for hundreds, 0 to 100, our midpoint is going to be right here at 50. So just think of this as our mid, or halfway through. So now we need to locate where's 18 going to be on this number line. Well, 18 is going to be somewhere between 10 and 20. Our midpoint for the number line of 10 and 20 is 15. So 18 is going to go somewhere over here. That's going to be where our 18 is. So now as we look at this number line, let's pretend that Mrs. Stowe's line, that one looks like a 110, right? All right, so looking at the number line, you can see where it's closer to when we're looking at between 0 and 100. The midpoint is here, and it's on this side of the line. So the closest 100 or the nearest 100 is going to be 0, even though it's not a multiple of 100. But we have to start at our starting point, which is 0. From 0 to 100, 100 to 200, etc., etc. All right, so we could tell that. Now we got to go deeper. We have to look really closely in between just this point or these points. So our midpoint is 15, and it's not on that side of the line. It's on the opposite side, closer to the 20. So when we round 18, we're going to go to the nearest 10 is 20. If we look here, guys, 18 is only 2 away from 20, right? It's only 2 away from 20, but it's 8 steps away from 10. So remember, we talked about steps before. If you think about walking distance, all right? Now we're going to move on to the next problem. Hopefully you wrote that down. All right. We said that this one was close to 20, and this one was nearest to 0. All right, now we are going to move on to the next one, which is 97. All right, so 97, we have to think about what 200ths does this fall between. So we're not quite up to 100 yet. So we know, of course, this is going to start with 0 again, and we are going to go between 0 and 100. Now we're going to, of course, count by tens like we did last time. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then, of course, 100. So if we're looking at our spot again, we know that we have 9 tens. So I know that it's going to be over here because 90 is 9 tens. It's going to fall between 90 and 100. My midpoint on here is going to be 95. That's halfway to between 90 and 100. Now, when I'm counting, I am going to say it is after 95 because 96, 97. So that's going to be somewhere in here, 97. Now we know on the number line, this is our midpoint as well. But at this point, we don't really need it. If you've drawn your number line, you can clearly tell that 97 is not closer to 0. So when we're looking at the nearest 100, it's not 0. It's going to be 100, right? Because it's only 3 steps away, right? So we are going to put down it's closest to 100. But now let's look at the tens. 9 tens or 10 tens. So 90 or 100. Which one is it closer to here? It's going to also be closer to 100 because that is also a multiple of 10. When we skip count by 10, we land on 100. So this is going to be closer to 100. All right, make sure you write that down, boys and girls. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so far, 18 is closest to 20 as the nearest 10, and 0 as the nearest 100. 97 is closest to 100 as the nearest 10, and the same number, 100, as the nearest 100. Because 100 is a multiple of 10, it's also a multiple of 100. So now we're looking at 312. So I want to look at what 200 is between. So we have 300s, so that's our starting point, 300. And then after 300, if I skip count by hundreds, I'm going to land on 400. So now I'm going to look at the tens again. So this line here is 310, 320, 330. And yes, you do need to know how to skip count by tens past 100. 340, 350, 360, 370, 380, and 390. So now I've skip counted by tens all the way up to 400. I'm going to look at my midpoint here, halfway between. Notice on my number line that my midpoint is 350. Okay, so now I'm looking at 312. Where would it fall between? So I know I have 300s, but I have 110. So I'll look at 310. This is my starting number. Midway between those is going to be 315. So 315. See if I can make that look like a 3. 315. So 315 is my midpoint between 310 and 320. So 312 comes before 315. So this will be about 312. Not perfect, but about 312. So when I look at my number line, if I'm looking at the nearest 10, it's closer to 310. It's only 2 steps away. So I'm going to put 310 as my nearest 10. And then the 100, is it closer to 300 or is it closer to 400? What do you think? All right, hopefully you said it's closer to 300. Why? Because it's only 12 steps away from 300. So the nearest 100 is 300. All right, boys and girls. I hope this has been helpful. I want you to try the last 2 by yourself. Check your work. Did you get the right answer once you did the number line? All right, talk to a partner, and then your teacher will come around to see how you're doing. Have a great day.